Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. The juice is loose, talking about Beetlejuice. Starring Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, Catherine O'Hara, Winona Ryder, and Michael Keaton. Directed by Tim Burton. Hey everyone, Sky here, and I am here to talk about Beetlejuice. Now, I have seen this movie before. I vaguely remember just a couple of scenes as I was watching the movie, and it was the opening, going through the model opening sequence, and the very end of the movie where Michael Keaton gets his head shrunk. Those are the only two scenes I remember about the movie, but nothing else after. It's been so long since I've seen this movie. I'm glad I'm reviewing this just to get an idea of what it's like. Let's get into the movie. We open with the score by Danny Elfman that I know of thanks to the animated TV series I watched as a kid, as we look at the town that as a model where this movie is taking place, while it's a set design thanks to a spider climbing on the house they're at, and we get a loving couple named Adam, played by Alec Baldwin, and Barbara, played by Gina Davis, introduced to the story as they're interrupted by Jane Butterfield about sending people some photos to sell the house they're living at, as it's too big for Adam and Barbara, and they go to the store, and while they ignore the people like Jane, as well as the barber who cut Adam's hair, as it comes off kind of mean as they're going on a trip and get crashed and killed in the river thanks to a dog, and they wake up realizing they're dead and are in the underworld, or afterlife, let's call it, as this couple are relatable. And the cinematography felt very typical Tim Burton, as this afterlife moments of the film looks decent for 1988, and I like the performances by Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis. Adam and Barbara see the live people, can't see them because they're dead, and learn some things from a book of the dead called Recently Deceased. And the next day comes people named Delia Dietz, played by Catherine O'Hara, Charles, and their daughter Lydia, played by Winona Ryder, moving into the house and sort of trash up the place by graffitiing as they see dead bodies. That's feel typical Tim Burton. And Charles doesn't feel relaxed while Delia marks the house with Otho. And this feeling is kind of ridiculous. And Barbara goes into the afterlife, as it looks like 1980 special effects by director Tim Burton. And that is this movie's charm, in my opinion. And I like the way the movie looks, as it works for its charm. Adam and Barbara see the Dietz move into the house and read the Afterlife book, Recently Deceased, some more, and as they're recommended about calling Beetlejuice, or how it's spelled Beetlegusse, played by Michael Keaton, who's in this movie for about, 15 minutes, as Lydia gets a key from Jane and Lydia trying to open the upstairs closet while they see an advertisement of Beetlejuice, who can scare the bejesus out of parasites, and pushes Lydia away from the door as Adam draws a door and knocks on it 3 times to go further in the afterlife. And Lydia sees green as they go into the afterlife, while Charles is trying to relax until Lydia tells Charles and Delia about how their house is haunted. And I really enjoyed the practicals in this movie, while the dialogue is sometimes really funny in a corny way. So great. Lydia looks around for Adam and Barbara while they're waiting for an appointment with their caseworker, Juno, and they eventually get to their turn to visit Juno as they see the lost souls in their own rooms. And to get to Juno's room, and they ask her for help and to get rid of the parasites, and Juno is no help as they think of asking Beetlejuice's help. And she warns them not to say his name, nor 3 times, nor ask for his help, because he doesn't work well with others. And we get a fly's point of view as it gets eaten by Beetlejuice, which kind of made me sick, as Charles calls his boss Max, who comes off like a putz. And while Adam and Barbara pretend to be ghosts and wake Lydia and Delia up, which is hilarious, and the movie is working as it holds up today, Lydia takes pictures of Adam and Barbara as she sees them because of the book of the afterlife called Recently Deceased, as she learns they're really dead and they meet for the first time. And the next thing comes as Lydia tells Delia about Adam and Barbara as she doesn't believe her. And Winona Ryder does good work in this movie as Barbara says Beetlejuice 3 times, and they're on the model and dig under his grave and meet Beetlejuice. And Michael Keaton is the best thing about this movie, in my opinion, as even though he's only like in it for 15 minutes, as he's hilarious. And this movie, as he tries to make a deal with the couple, and she calls home 3 times, and after they skip back, Beetlejuice says the F word by saying nice bleeping model. And how did they get away with the PG rating, as Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was before this movie, as this should have been rated PG-13? Well, the next one will be. Delia has a party of 7 people, including her boss, along with Charles, Lydia, and Delia, starting to sing and become a disgrace at her job. Delia, I mean. And that scene was pretty silly for a horror comedy. And Lydia asks Adam and Barbara to come downstairs after trying to scare them away, but unfortunately they don't want to come down. And the 7 people leave the house, and Otho is there as well. And they go up to the attic, and the door opens for a second, knocking by Delia, as she wants to scare the ghosts, which are Adam and Barbara, away, but are unsuccessful, and fight a snake that looks like Beetlejuice. And the movie is very entertaining for me, as I'm having a fun time with it. Barbara calls Beetlejuice 3 times to get the snake gone, and she and Adam tell them they don't want to do business with him, while Beetlejuice go ahead, make my millennial, and laughs like a horror movie character. And he goes in a strip house to get Juno, who's surrounded by some football players, and she tells them she wants Beetlejuice out of the picture, while the next day he is here, and Delia and Charles have a relaxing day, while Lydia writes some note about how she's going to run away. Meanwhile, Adam makes a funny face to scare the deets away, and Barbara's eyes go to the tongue and look like a crocodile, as Lydia delivers the note and sees Beetlejuice, and he asks to get out of the model, and they play a game of guessing his name with a couple of hints, and discovers it's Beetlejuice, while Lydia says she wants to be with Barbara, which is a heck of a lot of fun. And Lydia wants to be dead, as Barbara and Adam says she doesn't, and declares to let them stay in the house, while Charles brings Max to see some ghosts, and Otho notices they're still here, as Barbara disappears and goes into a wedding gown, as Otho makes Barbara look like a goblin ghost of some kind, and her skin breaks, while Adam joins along with Lydia, telling Otho to stop hurting them, or Otho, excuse me, as she thinks about getting Beetlejuice out under the condition she marries him. And she says the name 3 times and gets out of the model and scares the bejesus out of Max and his wife. And he releases Barbara and Adam and humiliates Otho in front of Lydia and Delia and Charles as the wedding begins by making Delia and Charles get trapped and say their vows, as Lydia says no, while Adam and Barbara get in the afterlife. While Adam drives the model car into Beetlejuice's foot, as the worm gets Beetlejuice back in the afterlife, and the next day comes and Lydia is coming home from school, and Adam and Barbara, as Charles and Delia, are in the basement, while Lydia dances while in the sky, she's flying in the house, let's say, as Beetlejuice is waiting for an appointment with Juno and cheats his way through and gets his head shrunk. That's the scene I remember from when I was a kid, and the climax was funny and scary at the same time. And should you watch this before the new movie? Let's find out in a rating. I'll give this movie a 7.8 out of 10. I like the characters as they're all fun, funny, and very relatable, and the special effects are like a 1980s charm, as director Tim Burton does a stylish job with the movie. And the cinematography is stylish, and I like the practicals, and the dialogue is sometimes really funny in a corny way. Winona Ryder does good work in this movie, as Michael Keaton is the best thing about the movie, in my opinion. And this should have been rated PG-13 for the one F-bomb in this movie, as this shouldn't have gotten away with the PG rating, but the movie is entertaining from start to finish, and I had fun with it. Like I said, the movie was a heck of a lot of fun, and again, good time at the movies, as this is a recommendation to view this movie before the new movie comes out. as it still works and holds up to this day, and we'll see how the sequel goes, as there were a couple of scenes I remember as a kid, as it's funny and scary at the same time. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for this original Beetlejuice, and I'll be back with Beetlejuice. And until then, go ahead, make my millennial.